Alright, what I have sitting in front of me here is my new Motorola Moto X 32GB Verizon edition. As you can see, I've customized it with this, it's called a woven black back, a solid black front, and that's one of the neat features about it. And I have gotten custom, I guess kind of custom, I've used the Moto Maker, and I have silver accents for the buttons and for the camera surround. This is one of its features called active display, and because it's an OLED display, it's only that that's on. It will come back on when you move the phone, hopefully. Okay, it normally does if you let it sit for long enough. There we go. So yeah, only those, because it's an OLED, it's only actually these that you see on. And now it's come back off again. It's only those pixels that you see on that are actually on. The rest of it's off, not just set to black. Anyway, the main reason for this video, and hopefully I can get this to focus properly. Let me adjust my manual focus real quick. Okay, hopefully that'll be good enough. Is to show you the performance of it. I'm holding it sideways because the app I'm about to load, 3D Mark Mobile, I guess you could call it. I don't know, they don't really have a name for it like on PCs where it's 3D Mark Vantage, 3D Mark whatever. But here we have the three things that or the three options that you can run. I'm going to run all three. I'm going to start with Ice Storm, just Ice Storm Basic, I guess you could call it. Yes, I see that this test is too light for my device, but I'm going to run it anyway. So here we go. The funny thing is, the thing that stresses this phone out the most on this test in particular is actually loading it. Loading it takes a little while. The rest of it is fine. As you see, those three little buttons are up top, and I don't know why they're there, because in this app, they don't do anything. So, alright. Now, I hope you can see the frame rate. It's down right here. And that very first section is the part that it's actually the slowest. The rest of the time it's just pegged up at 61 frames per second. Which, I don't know if that's a limit of the app, of the benchmarking app itself. It won't go past 61 frames per second, or if that's actually a limit of the phone that it won't play anything at above 61 frames per second. Oh, it dropped below. But I know that it never goes above 61 and that some phones are limited to 60, so calculating error, something. Also, I'm a little sick right now. I might sound a little nasally. Sorry for that. That's just life. As you can see, we're back up to 61 frames per second, and basically like the application told me, this is much too gentle, I guess you could say, for my device, but I'm going to keep going with it. So I will let this continue to run. Actually, let me turn the sound up, see if I have any sound. Hey, there's actually sound. There we go, that'll make it more interesting for you guys. Kind of reminds me of Star Wars. I wonder if there's any copyright infringement going on there. Because those fighter jets look an awful lot like the fighter jets per se in Star Wars. Alright, that was the longest test. The rest of these aren't as long. There's this test that's loading right now, and then two more after it, and I bet between those two, it'll probably take as long as that first test. And as you can hopefully see again, we're at 61 frames per second. And this one, I guess, has no sound. As you can see, we're still sitting at 61 frames per second. Phone's not even trying on this graphics test. Looks a little less like Star Wars, but I'm surprised no one's pulled out copyright infringements. But then again, this is not Apple and Samsung we're talking about, so. This is actually the most stressful of the tests on this phone. As you can see, my frame rates, it was below 20 there for a second. And if memory serves, this is the last test, and the shortest. Yep, last test. Alright, maxed out. I guess that means normally it gives you a numerical score. I guess maxed out just means that this runs at the absolute max that the test will allow. So there's all of our scores, I guess you could, well, here's all of our scores over here. There's all of our numerical scores. As you can see, this is running KitKat. And yeah, score, graphics score, physics score, all maxed out. And as you can see, there's the Moto X, maxed out. It's one of the stronger devices here. Alright, now I will run Extreme, which is the one that it actually recommends. So let's start that. This is just going to be pretty much the exact same tests, just run at higher resolution and probably higher detail settings and all that good stuff that tests your CPU, GPU, RAM, all of that. If I can get my old phone, my old HTC Resound to start functioning again, or I should say installing apps again, I'll run this same program on that and see what kind of results I get on that, just as a comparison. But that's provided I can get it to install apps again, and I really don't feel like completely resetting it right yet, so that could be a little while. So let's watch this test. As you can see, all that information is much smaller, and that's because this is running at 1080p rather than 720. I don't know if you can see the frame rate. I barely can, and it looks to be running right now low 30s, now mid 20s, now back to mid 30s. It's just going to jump around from there. As you can see, it's playing smooth though, regardless of what the numerical frame rate is. So this is probably about the limits of this phone, which is honestly fine. Graphics look good. Very powerful phone considering the price you can get it for, especially with the Christmas season coming up. You might be able to get it for a good discount. I personally bought this phone during Motorola's, it was a Cyber Monday sale, but then everything went kind of kaflooey and the website collapsed. So it ended up being like a week after Cyber Monday sale. But I got this 32 gig phone completely off contract, so I get to keep my unlimited. Screw you, Verizon. I still get to keep my Verizon unlimited 4G LTE data, and I only paid, I kind of paid too much, $400 for the phone, but that's still $150 less than it would normally be, and I keep my unlimited data. So overall, I'm happy with it. Getting an OtterBox case for it, that should be coming in here soon. I'll do a review of that once I get it. If you guys want me to, I can do a review of this phone with its update to 4.4. I'm sure everyone's seen reviews of it. Running the old, I think it came with 4.1 or 4.2. But if you guys want me to, I can make a video showing, I guess I really can't show the differences. I don't know what the differences would be. But it is running 4.4 KitKat. And at the end of this video, I will prove that. All right. Here we go on to these next ones, just like we did before. And I will say the battery life on this is actually pretty good. I've only drained it once, and then I spent probably a little over an hour and a half playing, maybe not an hour and a half, maybe at least an hour playing Real Racing 2, and I did these tests before. And what else did I do? I played some Hill Climb Racing on it, and the battery life, by the end of these tests, will probably still be in the high 30s. And as we all know, batteries, they improve the first 5 charges. Through the first 5 charges, they will improve. After that, they start to go down, so this might not even be the best that this phone can do on battery. Sadly, you cannot use or replace the battery, which really just means you can't just directly pop off the back plate. But that's not going to stop me. I've replaced the screen in my HTC Resound, so probably around this time next year, I'll be replacing the battery in this thing. Hopefully not before, but hey, we will see. So the frame rates are getting really low. Got down to like 7.5. Right now they're up to 15, 16. Right now this I think is going to be the physics test. And it is. This I really didn't see any difference if I remember correctly between the two. Last time I was running at 22 frames per second. And it's still running at low 20s. Yeah, 22. No difference. So I have no idea what would cause that. I guess this must just not be running at a higher resolution. It's also the shortest test by far. Alright, here we go. Here are the results. Actually, while I'm here, let me check the battery life. We have 41% battery. And I do not want Bluetooth on. Sorry about that. No, I don't want Google Now. There we go. We're back. Okay. 72.15. I think that's a little lower than I got before. I think I got like 73.37 last time. But that's still a very strong run. There's a standard, I don't want to say a standard Moto X, but there's a typical Moto X score. As you can see, my phone beats it a little. I'm going to guess that's because I got 4.4 KitKat, and that runs better. So that score actually beats out the Asus Transformer and the HTC One Max and all those phones. There you can see all my graphics scores. Let's see what this button does. Or maybe it's not a button at all. Oh well. I was hoping those two little gray lines were, those two little white lines were buttons, but they're not. So there's my overall score, my graphics score, my physics score, my graphics test 1, 2 frame rates. So yeah, overall it does very well. So let's run the last test, which I'm probably going to end up fast forwarding through quite a bit of it, because it is actually rather boring. It's just a bunch of, almost I want to say exporting photos, but I'll show you. I'll probably end up fast forwarding through it in the video, so there won't be any voiceover here. Except for at the beginning where I show you, it's just that little box that fills up with these random photos. But I'll run through it anyway, because I'm here, so I might as well. And that's basically how all 4 tests are going to be. They're just kind of boring and kind of weird, but yeah, who knows. Still get an accurate representation at the end that allows you to compare it to other phones, tablets, and devices in general. I would zoom in, but my camera can't focus that close, and when you're watching this on a big computer screen, you'll probably be able to see it just fine, as compared to my little 3-inch camera. 3-inch camera screen, I should say. Yeah, really weird, I don't want to say settings, but really weird way to run it. Because it's completely different from all the other tests. Just these weird exporting thingies. There we go, 10,823, which is above the Sony Xperia A. It's above the iPad 4, which is quite impressive. I guess that's not the iPad Air. I'm curious to see what that would be. Oh, there's my my score, my graphics score, my physics score. Here, my physics score, I guess, is a little lower. I don't know those numbers. I don't know what those numbers on the side are. Maybe they're what a Moto X normally gets compared to what mine's getting. That'd just be my guess. So, I mean, I guess that makes sense because there's the typical Moto X score right there. And there's mine. So I beat it out by a little. Okay, that'd be my guess, is that those in parentheses are what a Moto X typically gets. So, yeah. Nice phone, I like it. If you guys want me to do a review of it, I will. But right now I'm just going to prove that this is a Moto X running 4.4 KitKat. I mean, just, whoops, I do not want to protect my phone right now. I definitely don't want to go through that on camera. I mean, just this basically proves that, hey, it's 4.4. There's my battery. Go up into settings. Scroll all the way down to about phone. There we go, 4.4 KitKat.